What's happening, everybody? Welcome to episode 39 of the Club Lorcana podcast. I am one of your hosts, Jeremy Bertrioni. With me, as always, Zan Syed.
Hello.
And we have a very special episode. This is our first dual cam setup. We are super excited to bring this to you. Zan, tell them a little bit about how you feel about it.
Yeah, I feel pretty good. It's been a little tricky figuring it out, but I'm glad that we're trying something new.
As always with this podcast, we're hoping to grow sort of with you guys. We didn't set out to be content creators, so we're kind of learning and moving as we go. So, we appreciate all the comments that are like, oh, the audio is bad, because that just, made us strive to like, all right, well, we got to try to make it better. We got to try to be better. So this is just the next step in us trying to be good for you. Zan, let's go ahead and get started with the way we like to get started. I always love to jump right into the metagame for the gamers that want all that information. So let's talk a little bit about the metagame. What would you say the top decks are right now?
The top decks I think are, blue steel, blue red are like the two top dogs, and then I'd probably say like third and fourth. Let's say Turnadog.
Yep. Keep going. Number 3 is Turnadog. And then number 4, you have anything for number 4? I have green purple written down.
You have green purple. I think I think we still have to give it to purple steel, just because it's won a tournament. It won the Austin, the Hunter Burton Memorial.
Yep. And then big congrats to Sky, this past weekend sort of winner for the weekend. He won with a blue steel list with Chicha. Talk to me about it. Why is Chicha good?
I think it's a much more consistent threat than Oswald, right? Like it draws you the card every time you get a second ink down, which is nice. I think the support is pretty huge. I think support is quite nice. I still don't think it's about the Chicha or about the Oswald or about any of the other stuff. I think that the thing that matters is like you're a good player, and I think Sky is a good player, and he has probably the most reps in blue steel besides R&B, or maybe more. So I think that blue steel is a really tough color combination to pilot really, really well.
Yep.
And so I think that he has an advantage there. So I'm not surprised that he won. But again, I just think that the core of the deck is what stands out the most, right? Like, I think in my mind, what would really prove that Chicha was really good was if like a no-name player picked up the deck and then won with the Chicha build, right? And it's kind of funny to say that, because like you want like deck building and good players. It's a really interesting way to figure that out, right? Like, I don't think that if I built a deck and I won with it, that is what indicates that I built a good deck.
I think this metagame is really hard, almost uniquely. These blue mirrors are like tough, and they test your ability to understand what matters at what phase of the game, like on like a razor's edge. You know what I mean? Like if you're still on control the board when you should have been on play your Tamatoas or whatever, you can fall off a cliff really, really heavily in this format. And I guess Lorcana's always been a pretty hard game, but I think this format really like lets you know, oh, this is a hard game.
Of course. If you're playing the blue steel mirror, and you have a Hiram and your opponent doesn't, the advantage is overwhelming. It's like so much. It's like unsurmountable. But back to the point that I was trying to make was me winning with a deck list isn't the proof that I built a good deck.
Yeah.
The proof is actually when another player or a bunch of other players do well with my deck. That's actually what proves that the deck is built well, right? And then in terms of skill is just playing out the game. So when you watch a player like Sky or a player like you navigate through these games, that's where you see the skill portion outshine. And so I think that the core of these blue steel and blue red decks is so powerful that for the most part that they overshadow people's skill.
Okay, so I guess answer this question for the viewer because we have our 5K coming up at
Mhm.
Gubu. There's a lot of other tournaments coming up this weekend. There's some other decks on here. We have purple steel. We have yellow green Chernadog, which is an aggressive deck that seeks to use the new dogs, Lady and the Tramp, to sort of fuel a big Chernabog that comes out pretty early. How can you justify not playing blue in this format? Why would you choose to play a deck that isn't blue?
Well, for me, I mean, I've been playing. I played like every single weekend of March, and I'm just honestly sick of it. I'm like tired of Sapphire. Um, I've been advocating for the ban of Popsicle, but to be honest, I'll be happy with any of the powerhouses, right? Like, I'd be happy if we got rid of Big Tamatoa, we got rid of Hiram. Like, I'd be happy with any of the powerhouses gone, just to cause some sort of reset, you know?
I mean, I guess so. You're advocating for a metagame shakeup. I kind of still like the games that I'm playing. I like, for some reason, set 7 a lot more than set 6. I feel like the games are like interesting and things are powerful, and I don't just like die if I'm, on the draw in the wrong spot or whatever. I don't just die at a diggy diggy hole for no reason.
Well, I mean, me and you have a huge history, right? And that history comes from Magic,
Mm-hmm.
right? And Magic is snowbally and has a bunch of variants in it. And we played a deck called Urza, and we like, I mean, I literally built the deck, and then you were there day 2 of the deck, and basically, you know, as like there was only so much you could do to iterate on the deck, and
Right.
then eventually it just became who drew better, right? And that's when it kind of fell apart for me. Like, I was still doing well at tournaments. It's just I wasn't winning every tournament because it was like the last 4 or 5 rounds, it would be just the mirror match, mirror match, mirror match, mirror match. There's a skill level to it, but I think that in Magic it can be overwhelming, a bad draw. So I think that right now set 7 is the most like Magic, that if you end up drawing better, that it's like overwhelming.
Yeah.
It's if it has that overrun feeling.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that me and you are both used to that, but I hate it, right? Because I had one different experience than you, right? During the pandemic, I was streaming like 24 hours a day.
Yeah, and I had the easy job. I was just working for Amazon.
I mean, that was a tough job. It's just I'm just saying that was my different experience with Magic. And during the pandemic, I just played, you know, expressive iteration Fable, which had a similar play pattern to Hiram, right? Like, if I play a Hiram and my opponent doesn't, or I play more Hirams than my opponent does, it just feels like you're overrunning them with so much card advantage. There's an inevitability, right? And so, since I was doing that, I started kind of just seeing the numbers on the wall. I started going crazy. I was
Mm-hmm.
like, I just want this nightmare to end, because I felt like the games didn't matter, and it was just, can I just play this Hiram? Can I just play this Hiram? Can I play the second Hiram or third Hiram before my opponent? That happens more so in blue red, not in blue steel, because the removal in this game is so much worse than in Magic. And so I got my like full serving size of that during the pandemic, and I feel like you didn't. And then I quit Magic, and then you followed suit. So I feel like it it will take you some time to catch up in like those 24-hour streams that I had, but eventually.
I won't like it anymore.
Yeah, exactly.
I actually picked Magic back up recently
Oh, nice.
because I had a client at work. I was basically doing a sale at work. I was getting somebody to partner with us for their TikTok shop or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
and they knew about me. They had heard that I played Magic the Gathering, but they're kind of more recent to the game. So a recent person in the game goes, "Oh, I heard you're like really good at Magic the Gathering." I was like, "Oh yeah, I used to play professionally." And he was like, "So who's your commander?" And I was like, What, dude? That's like not an appropriate question to ask me. But anyway, long story short, at the end of like basically the sales pitch, he was like, "Well, I got some extra decks. Like, you want to throw down?" And like, I'm at work, so of course I'll play Magic the Gathering with this potential client. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, dude, let's play. We played Magic the Gathering Commander. I called Nathan, who's been on this podcast. He called one of his friends, and we played Commander for like 7 hours.
Oh my god.
So anyway, now I have a deck and it's like fun or whatever. So I'll play Commander, and then the caveat is like just with friends that like don't play that much Magic. If you play a lot of Magic, we're good, dude. Let's play a different game or let's do something else. But if you don't play that much, I'm down to play some Commander with you. I got some fun decks. I built a Assassin's Creed deck.
Cool. So you're a casual gamer.
I'm a casual gamer in Magic the Gathering. I'm pretty serious about Lorcana. And in fact, so serious that let's talk about our past weekends.
Yep, let's do it.
This past weekend, I got a new headset.
Oh, nice.
So I'm finally able to, in my house, listen to music while I play Lorcanito.
Mm-hmm.
So I just had Ice 9 Kills going for all Saturday while I play tested Chernadog.
Nice.
And that was fun. I also play tested this version of Green Purple that I've built that has a lot of the burn spells in it. So it plays 4 Gathering Knowledge for This Is My Family. And I started winning a lot with that deck. And then also listening to Ice 9 Kills. So I was like, I don't know if I'm going to a good headspace. But anyway, that was my weekend. I'm liking it a lot. I'm even really still thinking of playing Green Purple moving forward for the 5K. But what happened to you? A lot of people were asking me, they're like, what happened to Team World Class Cards? You know, this isn't the hottest weekend for them. And so, Zan, can you explain it? What happened to them?
Yeah. So I went to Wisconsin to play in my sponsor World Class Cards tournament, double 5K, Saturday and Sunday. I've had an absolutely amazing time, but honestly, a really, really tough time as well. So Saturday, we had a 5K. I ended up losing my win in, and we ended up going to a steakhouse, having some good food, but that kind of soured my stomach.
Mm-hmm.
And it just kind of was lingering until it fully hit on Sunday.
Oof.
And yeah, so I'm playing on Saturday, and I got like a burp where I can like feel like the bile of my stomach come to my throat, and I'm like, I hope I just go to sleep and wake up and I'm gonna be okay. But that was not the case. So Saturday, I played Blue Steel, and basically I played against this blue green player who was good and extremely nice, but we ended up going to turns, and I just felt like his deck was designed to force a draw.
Sure.
And so even though I presented lethal and I had the game after turn 5, it resulted in a draw, and I played as fast as I possibly could, and I felt like my opponent did too. And so I felt like I 100% had that game. And that felt really bad because that draw haunted me for the rest of the tournament. The next round, I played against Blue Steel Mirror, against a Magic player that I had played in the past. And I actually played him when I was playing Jeskai Planeswalkers, and I beat him in that tournament. I ended up winning that tournament.
That was in Syracuse, New York.
Yep, it was a great time. And so we got to meet in Lorcana, which was cool. And I mean, it was a Blue Steel Mirror, so it really just came down to who won the die roll. And then after winning the die roll, it was all about having Hiram and one person not having the Hiram, all that stuff. Opponent played well, but there's nothing much you can really do. And so I got absolutely annihilated in game 3 and move it on. Then I win out, and then I'm on my last round. And in the last round, what ends up happening is I played against Bannable Harka, who's like a Lorcana guy. Played a lot of Pixelborn. I played against him a bunch on Pixelborn. We ended up playing, and we ended up going to 3 games, and he beat me in turns. I had my game one was like I resolved a Maurice's workshop. I drew like my entire deck, and like the bottom of my deck, ev- literally I had 6 cards left in my deck, and I was like scratching my head. I'm like, where are all the cards I need? I'm like, it was like 2 Tamatoas, a Lucky Dime. Everything I needed was in that last 6 cards, and so it was kind of like I wasted all this time
Yeah.
trying to get to those cards, and somehow they all ended up in a clump at the bottom of my deck that I needed.
Sometimes they can, you know. I think one time you and I played, and it was in a Lorcana event, and I said like, the only way I win is if your whatever the answer was are all right there, and I like pointed to the bottom of your deck. Oh, it was not the time we were on the Amber Steel Mirror. It was the time I was playing Blue Red, and you were playing, I think maybe some other really good deck. What was it when I was playing Blue Red?
You were playing Blue Red?
Mm-hmm.
Green Tail.
You were playing Green Cells, I'm playing Blue Red. I was like, I win if all of your like we don't talk about Brunos are right there. And I pointed to like the bottom of your deck, and you ended up like the game you had like 20 cards in your hand, and you were like, yeah, I mean, you got it. They're not in here. And I was like, well, sometimes that's how you got to do it.
Yeah, the weird part about it was like he looked at me and he was like, why aren't you playing faster? And I'm like, you have 17 cards, I have 6. The reason why is because I'm like trying to win this game when nothing is working out.
Right.
Like you found all of the things you needed without needing to get to the bottom last 6 of your cards. And for me, it's not working out that way. And so, you know, I just don't like the way Sapphire games play out, because sometimes game 1 takes like 25 minutes or 35 minutes, and you got to rush through games 2 and 3. And so, you know, I did my best to rush through games 2 and 3, and I won game 2, went on to game 3, and then, yeah, I mean, my opponent had a Hiram on turn 3, and that just snowballed into just having everything they needed at the right time to deal with all my stuff. And yeah, that was rough, but I felt great about my deck. I put myself in a position to win. And the thing that felt bad about it, of course, was if I didn't get that draw, then I got to draw in that round.
Sure.
To top 8, and my pairings most likely would have been the same because I got paired up every single round.
I talked to DKP on the space that I did earlier this week, and he told me that your whole team basically got taken out at that steakhouse, that everybody got food poisoning, and like Logan and DKP were like rolling around on the floor the first day on Saturday.
Yeah, Logan was throwing up.
Yeah.
I did not know DKP was also throwing up, but I mean, I know that people didn't feel good about it, you know.
So yeah, shout out to the Lorcana podcast. We should honestly name the restaurant so that they can like tell people not to go there.
Yes, I don't remember
It was a steakhouse though. There's a steakhouse in Wisconsin that you're gonna want to avoid.
Yeah, I don't remember the name. There was a restaurant that we were gonna go to that was Friar Tuck's.
Interesting.
We didn't go there.
Okay, let's move on. This past week, couple of days, you had a LCCC match with
Sunday.
What happened on Sunday? Your 5K.
Yeah, we had another 5K.
Oh my gosh! But you were sick.
Yeah, so I played the first 3 rounds. I was 2-0, lost the 3rd round, and then I went to the back and I was clenching my stomach, and I was like, either I'm gonna go to the hospital or I'm like I'm not gonna be able to play out this tournament.
Right.
And so I ended up just going back, had a bit of a fever, just slept, and then when I woke up, people came back. And so yeah, it was just, we ended up like driving to Chicago at like 3 a.m. Got to the airport. So this is like Monday morning.
Yep.
3 a.m. Got to the airport, and I'm like, okay, my flight's at 11:30. I'm good. Stomach just keeps getting worse. It just keeps, oh my God, it just keeps getting worse. So I'm just sitting in the bathroom for probably like 6 or like so many hours. I'm just like in the bathroom, and basically my flight ends up getting delayed an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours. Then they just canceled my flight.
Thank goodness, because you needed the potty time.
No, it was miserable. It was terrible because like everything that could possibly go wrong was going wrong. And basically my luggage handle broke. I'm just sitting in the bathroom the entire time. Like, what is happening?
Your luggage handle broke.
Yeah, so I had to just carry my giant luggage with me everywhere in a backpack, and I was literally just dying.
Dang. Yeah, DKP told me it was pretty bad for a lot of you guys, but I didn't know that you were in. Oh,
No.
I did kind of know because we talked later, but I mean, you were in HE double hockey sticks for sure.
I was like toast. Okay, so I get another flight for 5 p.m. So I've been here for like, I don't know, 12 hours, right? So I've been here for 12 hours. What happens then? I get a flight. I land at 9, and then I'm stuck in the plane for another 2 hours because they wouldn't let us on board. Like they couldn't find a gate to park our plane in. It was the most miserable experience ever. I got back home, went to sleep, woke up like right before my LCC match, and I'm like feeling terrible, and I kind of want to just not play.
So I was thinking on Monday, I was like, it's a little weird that that Zan hasn't called me yet, because you usually call me, you know, when you get back or whatever, or the next day in the morning if you don't call me right when you get back. Like, it's a little weird that Zan hasn't called me yet. And I was like, you must be mad at me. That's probably right. And so on Tuesday, I was like, all right, you know what? I'm going to call him. I'm going to give him peace of my mind. He shouldn't be mad at me like this. So I called Zan. I was like, hey, man, what's up? And you were like, I just got home. And I was like, oh, no. Like, that's not right. That's not good. And yeah, you were getting ready for your match. So that brings us to the LCC match versus Moyen. This was a blue steel mirror.
Yeah.
You know, the viewers know that it didn't go great for you. Talk to me a little bit about what happened. I mean, obviously you're feeling terrible.
Yeah, I mean, I am feeling terrible, but I still don't have my deck together. I'm like just scrambling to get everything together, right? We got to do a whole setup, and basically, you know, we got to take this setup apart and put that setup together for LCC.
Oh.
So I set it all up, and then I get a message like, hey, if you don't check in, we're gonna forfeit the die roll. I'm like, dang it. All right, I gotta speed up. So I speed up, get on the call with Moyen, and yeah, I'm just like, dude, I'm having the most miserable time. He's like, I don't think he registers it or whatever. I'm like, okay, whatever. I'm like, I need to quickly put my deck together. So I take out 4 cards, put 4 cards in. Playing my match, get absolutely, I mean, game 1 really came down to 1 Tamatoa. I got up to 15 lore. He was able to take out my 1 Tamatoa. I didn't have a Hiram. He had like, I don't know. There was one point I was like, how many cards do you have? He was like, I have 12. I'm like, I have 1.
Okay, so yeah.
I never found a Hiram or a Visions. I was like, oh my God, if I would just find this last Tamatoa, I end up winning the game, but it is what it is. Don't draw the Hiram. And yeah, I lose that game. We go into game 2. I'm on the play. This game is looking pretty good. I cast Visions, and I end up seeing an aerial, and I'm like, So I like look over at my list. I'm like, oh, I'm not playing aerial.
Mm-hmm.
Call the judge on myself. I'm like, hey judge, I don't have an aerial in my list. And yeah, so I don't have a list. I don't have an aerial in my list. And yeah, like, what would you guys like me to do? I'm cool with a game loss. And so they get back to us. The judge gets back to us and is like, I don't want to give you a game loss because, you know, people are watching and this is an exhibition match. And, you know, I asked Moyen, hey, are you cool with the ruling? The judges wanted it to be an inkable card.
Right, which Moyen on his podcast explained that he objected to because the aerial was supposed to be a Let the Storm Rage On. Mm-hmm. Let the Storm Rage On is not very good in the matchup and uninkable. So he wanted it to just basically go to the bottom and get replaced because it was a vision. So you probably wouldn't have taken Let the Storm Rage on anyway. So if he goes to the bottom of your deck, he's fine with it then being replaced by Let the Storm Rage on. That's what he explained on the podcast.
Yeah, and yeah, I was like, "Hey, Moyen, are you cool with this?" He's like, "No, I'm not cool with it. I want it to be uninkable." I'm
Sure.
like, "Okay, yeah, that's fine." And then he's like, "I also don't want it to be inkable afterwards. I would rather it be the card that should be Let the Storm Rage on if we go to game 3." I'm like, "Yeah, that's cool. That's all cool with me. I have no objections." At this point, I'm like, I'm just playing to play the game. I don't have any expectations to win, and I also just am like not feeling great. I'm just like, I rather just honestly at that point I was like, I'd rather just get the game lost, but it's okay. I'll continue playing because we're not really playing for anything,
Yeah.
right? Like this is just for the show, and yeah. After that point, I continued to make mistakes. I ended up attacking a Cogsworth and putting only 2 damage on my Hiram and I think a Scrooge McDuck.
Yeah, you put 1 damage on each of those characters.
1 damage, yeah. And instead of 2 damage. And that was like, I was like, what am I even doing? And we didn't end up catching that. I didn't catch that on myself either. And I just didn't feel great about that whole interaction. But, what the thing I want to talk about is like, what are you supposed to do in this situation, right? Like when you catch yourself like having made a mistake, I think that it's important to have a protocol. And I think the protocol is, all right, do I have this in my deck or am I not supposed to? I don't have this in my deck. You got to call it on yourself. And so I verified, called it on myself, and I'm happy about that. And in terms of the 1 damage, if I had caught it, I would call the judge on myself and get it fixed. And so, I think that the thing that I'm trying to demonstrate here is like, hey, if I catch myself doing something wrong and it's uh like I don't like hold that information and that I do the right thing, which is calling it on yourself. And, the thing I've never said is people are going to make mistakes. It's about what you do after you make the mistakes and after when you have figured out that you've made a mistake. Because I think the point at which it becomes cheating is like when you're withholding the information.
Yeah, you definitely are obligated to, basically let the staff know, especially when it's like something like that, for sure. Yeah, I'm not sure when you would ever. Oh, nice. I'm not sure when you would ever. Not call a judge, especially if you notice something wrong with your own deck. In Magic the Gathering, there were sideboards. So if you accidentally drew a card that was in your sideboard, that was like a pretty common experience. The judges are already pretty lenient in Lorcana, so it's unlikely that you're going to get a complete like game loss or something like that. So call a judge. You basically don't have much to lose. But even if you did, you should be like pretty much down to maintain the integrity of the game, and that should be the most important thing.
Yeah, I mean, I completely agree. I mean, the thing is, people are gonna make mistakes. It's about what you do after when that happens, right? You try to you report yourself and you see what happens from there. And I mean, in my case, if this was a tournament on the line, and I would have more strongly advocated for a game loss, and I would have just conceded if this was something not for the fans,
Yeah, to quote Rocky in Rocky 4, this is supposed to be an exhibition match. Remember, it changes the rules a little bit. You remember that?
I do.
You don't. You've never seen those movies. Quit lying to our audience and acting like you've seen it. One thing I wanted to ask you about. So for the WCC, it was supposed to be a cut to the top 8, but it ended up being a cut to top 16. What happened there? Why was it a 16 cut?
Oh yeah. So all the WCC team members talked to Robert, who's our sponsor, owner of world-class cards, and said, hey, it would be cool if we made it top 16. And I honestly felt like it would make a better tournament experience because it, to be honest, it's like a pretty high variance format. And so nobody wants to see it like coverage of like just blue steel and blue red, right? Like I think that this adds more diversity by going down to top 16 and makes the tournament less cutthroat. Anybody has an opportunity to win and you're live much later. You know, some X2s might get in, X1s are going to get in. I feel like it just makes everything cleaner.
Makes the tournament one round longer, right? Because there have to be 4 rounds after the top cut as opposed to just 3.
That's true. But I think that one thing that we were talking about was we wanted it to be a 8-round tournament instead of a 7-round tournament. So when we were saying, hey, maybe we should do top 16, we were saying like we'll make it 7 rounds cut to top 16 rather than 8 rounds. So 8 rounds cut to top 8. So in our situation, we were thinking like it was the same exact number of rounds that it would have been.
Great. And then do you think moving forward, Lorcana deck should be a bigger top cut, or do you think it should stay mostly top 8? I mean, what do you think?
I think top 16 is nice. I think top 12 has its merits too. I mean, you tell me what you think is better or worse.
The cool thing about top 12 is that you can do like the first 4 people get like a buy, like first 4 seeds get a big reward because they can get a buy into like basically the second round of top cut. I kind of like that texture for some reason, but I can't really articulate it why. I think from a coverage perspective, a bigger top cut is good because deck diversity is going to be really good. One game that has a really sick system is like Star Wars for their Galactic Championship. It's going to be really cool. They're going to do like a 1-day cut to the day 2 where if you're 6-2 or better, you get into day 2, but then it all resets or whatever. And I think that's going to like help deck diversity too, because people that like just scraped in barely to its can play against like those top decks, which I think will be good. So yeah, I don't mind it. Although sometimes people like just want to go home. So if it's like a 9-round tournament, we're doing 7 and then 2 and then a top cut so that people can like get out of here. What else we got? In other gaming news, there's going to be a Wingspan tournament here in Atlanta in a couple of weeks.
Yeah, that tournament seems pretty cutthroat. I do want to touch more on like top 12, top 16.
Yeah, go for it.
Top 16. I do think that viewership is really important to grow any game, right? And I think that if it makes viewership and that type of stuff more interesting, and we should definitely do it. Like, when Top Cut usually happens, people are like, I want to watch now. And so if Top Cut happens around earlier, that's also awesome. So now let's think about it from the player's perspective. We're playing in a tournament, and you get your second loss. Are you saying that you're going home?
Sometimes,
but sometimes you're still playing for top 16.
Yeah.
So if you're already playing for top 16, which a lot of the tournaments that we play pay out to top 16, then why not still play for being able to win the tournament?
Yeah, I mean, look, I'm pro it. I've been playing card games for 10 years and it's always been top 8. So I think that it's got to be top 8. And that's how I grew up. And that's the way that the president organized it.
Well, I like the idea of top 16. The other reason why is because I think it better prepares us for DLCs, right? If you make top 64 and you're at the bottom, you're going to be on the draw the whole way through. And I think that this prepares us better for the next stage. I don't want a system that doesn't prepare us well for the thing that qualifies us for everything, which is a DLC, right? Like baseline DLC is the thing. If you want to play at Worlds, you want to play at Continentals, that's what's going to allow you to do that.
So the problem with that is that if we're just doing whatever prepares us best for the DLCs, then we should be playing best of 2 tournaments, and that is pretty much non-viable for anybody.
I don't think that we should talk about best of. I don't think that thing is still on the table, right? Because so far Ravensburger has responded to whatever the community wants, right?
Sure.
So let's give them a chance to respond. Let's see what happens for the next round of DLCs, right? So I think that we should be talking about, like, are they going to be getting rid of top cuts? I don't think so. I feel like they make a lot of sense in terms of pricing and allowing other people to play in different events
Sure.
that are not the top cut.
Nobody wants them to get rid of top cut.
Yeah, I agree.
But everyone wants them to get rid of best of 2.
Yeah.
Everybody.
Sure.
Let's do, man, I'm tired. I just got back from Wilmington. I drove 7 hours to be here.
Mm-hmm.
I got here at 3. It's 9 p.m. now.
I mean, that's incredible.
That is incredible. It took us 6 hours to record a podcast.
I mean, this stuff is hard.
Just to be clear, 6 hours to start to record a podcast.
Yeah.
I'm losing it. I might crash out. I might finally go on that rant.
About what?
Who even knows? You know, it maybe like sleeve quality. I might really buckle down on katana sleeves right now.
Like, you don't like them?
Well, I used to. They used to be the absolute best ones when the colorway was like yellow, black, like I think red or whatever. That was when katana sleeves were really good. They had the greatest shuffle. They lasted the longest amount of time. But in the recent years, when they came out with their like radiant plum and like jade dragon color sleeves, they're just awful. They bend, they warp like foils somehow. And like, I just don't understand why a brand that built that trust would lose it, especially when they were the premium Ultimate Guard sleeves, because it was katanas and then Cortex. Cortex basically are whatever, and then katanas are really good. But now that katanas are also bad, it's like, oh, so Ultimate Guard just does bad sleeves. I'm just so upset about that. Pretty much all the time.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Let's talk about sleeves. All right. I think that Dragon Shields are the best way to go. I mean, I think that you should just buy bulk Dragon Shield blacks matte, and you can't go wrong. And you can order them on Amazon at bulk pricing, and that's the best thing you can do, because then you can put all your cards in black sleeves. It just makes everything easier. And then right before you're about to play a tournament, open up a new box, brand new sleeves. Bam.
So you were on camera, okay, and Katie, the Lorecaster, was commentating you, and she was like, "It's a very pro gamer move to have black sleeves on a black mat, and nobody can tell anything that's going on because nobody can see your ink on the camera."
Oh my God.
And so I was like, nice. But if those have been, lilac or bright pink, I honestly think if you can find some sleeves that have been in your local game store since 22, that was when sleeves were the best. And then 23, 24, 25, they've just kind of gone like in quality. So
yeah, I mean, I think during the pandemic, a lot of people changed factories, right? And to save money, right? I think that pandemic was like, years of trying to save more money. And so let me comment on black sleeves. In Magic, they had like double-sided cards.
Mm-hmm.
And so double-sided cards show through the back of your back of a lot of colors of sleeves. So from Magic, I learned that you should just stick with black sleeves. And so when you stick with black sleeves, then you don't have to worry about double-sided cards. And so I didn't really think about the ink situation. It's so funny that you said that. Someone else said that to me like on Sunday.
Mm-hmm.
And then now it's being said again. And
well, usually you don't play with a playmat, and a lot of the time it's like pretty distinct. But since you were playing with a playmat that was, I guess, provided by your sponsor, and it was black, your black sleeves, it was just like, well, nobody knows how much ink Zan has. He's like Batman hiding in the shadows.
Yeah, that's definitely not intentional. I don't believe in like trying to hide your ink. I'm like totally, you know what we should bring up? Spin drifting.
Spindrift inking, that didn't ever manifest into a thing.
No, people come up to me. They're like, oh, spin drifting.
Spindrift inking is a thing because we talked about it, but like players aren't doing it.
That's not true. What, wasn't Sky doing it?
So, well, that's why he won. All right, how about that? If you want your edge, you really want your edge, you want to be serious about winning in Lorcana, how about you ink right. Okay, how about you spindrift ink?
I'm actually not 100% positive. So don't quote me on that.
I did want to talk about a lot of people were saying that like illusions and purple steel was going to get a lot better with next set because next set is called Reign of Jafar, and so Jafar is coming out.
Mm-hmm.
And I like got kind of annoyed. This was in my space or whatever, and I got kind of annoyed with them because they're acting like Ravensburger makes it a priority to keep characters consistent in what they do, even across colors. And Ravensburger is pretty much like trying to prove to us that they like don't. Here's an example. Hiram Flaversham from set 2. You might have heard of this card. It's a 4 ink 1/6 that whenever you play it or whenever it quests, you can sacrifice an item to draw 2 cards.
From my nightmares.
So you might think, okay, this character, Hiram Flaversham, what he does is that he interacts with items in some way because he's a toy maker. That would make sense. But they printed a new Hiram in set 5 or 6, I forget which one, and it's a 2 ink uninkable O2 that quests for 3.
Okay.
So that's not actually, and they're both blue. So that's not actually have anything to do with items.
Is there anything on the art like that may signify like is Hiram doing anything else?
No, he's literally kind of standing portrait mode in the O2, and he's kind of doing some action stuff with an item on the 1/6. But what I'm saying is that Disney, this game just like doesn't like, we don't really know what Jafar is going to do in the next set. So the fact that people were like, oh, he's going to be really good in purple steel, it's like, yeah, if he's even purple or steel, because we had a similar experience where it was like they printed a bell in green. This was a 5 ink shift thing that made somebody discard all the cards in their hand if they challenged. Okay, so Bell's gonna like be some kind of tricky quester. It was quested for 3. And it's like, no, Bell's actually like free with items. Bell's like a free item person now in blue. So Ravensburger, for whatever reason, maybe it's maybe they're trying to stay away because Magic does this a lot where like the same character will kind of do the same thing every time they're around. And maybe they wanted to like differentiate from that, but the same character doesn't always do the same thing in Lorcana. So I just don't get why people are expecting purple steel to get better because the next Jafar might be green or red and do things like that.
I like the fact that it doesn't like correlate. Because it really bothered me in Magic that sometimes it correlated too much. And I'll say why. Because I'll say like, they have to put a Jace in the set. It's a Jace set.
Mm-hmm.
But like blue is already too powerful.
Yeah. And then what does Jace do? Oh, well, he's got to mill and draw cards.
Yeah.
Okay.
So they just give it an irrelevant ability then. Or it's too powerful in an already too powerful color.
Mm-hmm.
And so what I like is like, if they have to put a character in a set that they can just have it like it doesn't have to do the thing. It can just be they're like, okay, we need to put X amount of aggressive things in this format because maybe blue didn't have a aggressive 3 quester. Let's just give it to them. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure. And then but I don't know, why do you have to make that Hiram? Why can't you just be like, yeah, this is Zipper or whatever?
I mean, maybe it's just a statement like we're not gonna be predictable.
It has to be. That's what I'm thinking because you have so many Disney characters that it would have been so easy to make the 2 ink blue quester like Flounder. Flounder already has a lot of community like support or whatever. He's like a fish that people really like, and he's not really attached to doing anything yet. So if you made Flounder a 2 ink uninkable 2/3, it's like, oh, okay, Hiram Flaversham always does things with items in blue, and then Flounder in blue could be like a high quester. But they made it Hiram, and that had to be on purpose. So I think they are like trying to tell us like, hey, don't think that characters are like attached to what they do. I mean, you look at Mickey Mouse. He's obviously in everywhere in most of the colors. He does something different every time he shows up.
Yeah. Okay. So what I think is gonna happen is we're gonna get like crazy intensive sets. Like let's say we get an aerial set, and that's where we're gonna get flounder.
Sure.
You know what I mean? And right now they're just doing the Diablos and the Hirams and stuff, and then we're gonna get more intense sets for those. And I think that they're kind of slow rolling them.
I mean, they're slow rolling everything. You know what I mean? They're like slow rolling a lot of the like Pixar stuff. That we're about to get the first appearance of like a Pocahontas in this game. With set like 9 is when we've seen like some art for Pocahontas. So it's like they got a lot of Disney to get through, and they're not in a rush to get it. They're definitely, I guess you could say they're like planning for this game to last 30 years because that's how long it's going to take to get to like the Black Cauldron.
I'd love to hear that. 30 years? Yeah.
I thought you were going to say I loved the Black Cauldron. My head might have fallen on the floor.
No, I don't know what that is.
Right. I know that. But if you'd have been like, I loved the Black Cauldron, I'd be like, everything I knew about sand is totally a lie.
Which one is that?
It's a Disney movie. It's a Disney movie. It's animated.
Is it Ursula?
It's a bunch of other people that aren't in any of these movies.
Oh, well, I'll put it on my list to watch.
Okay, great. All right. Zan just put the Black Cauldron on his list to watch. It didn't do very well in the box office.
But was it a good movie?
It was really scary. And so people didn't like it. But I watched it a lot when I was a kid. I was so scared.
Nice.
There's like an evil, basically Lich King that wants to make an army of zombies, like Lich Kings always do. And there's like a little boy that wants to get adventure, and he tries to stop it, but he gets imprisoned in like a dark castle. And anyway, so that's the Black Cauldron, and that also might be our podcast. I think it's time to talk to our sponsors.
Yeah. I did want to say a message. The message is, people make mistakes. Try your best to do better, and I'm going to try to be better. And yeah, so, thanks for watching. And who's our first sponsor?
First sponsor is Metafy. Everyone go check out deck guides from Zan on Metafy, and you can also subscribe. He actually just did a coaching session to one of his subscribers that pays at the top of the tiers. I listened to it, and it was honestly great for both of them. I think Zan got a lot out of it, and so did the subscriber, and that was just phenomenal. So go check out Zan's Metafy. Sponsor number 2 is going to be my space. This is every Monday at 8:30. I do a space, and it's here on this podcast. We like to be a little bit elevated. We like to take the high road, And in the space, I'm down to get into their drama, get into the elbows. We've had some juicy gossip. We had DKP in the last one, and he just was like, we were all throwing up everywhere this past weekend, and everybody was throwing up hearts in the space because you can like react or whatever. So everyone was like, wow.
Yeah. It was a painful weekend, man.
It sounds horrendous, but that's what happens when you go on trips without me.
Yeah, it's some tournaments are tougher than others.
Who else we got? Joshua Paltry playmats. Go get one.
In the description.
And this week we're also sponsored by Nestle Cookies.
No, we're not.
Well, you ever heard? It's a little brand. They got something called Oreos, and I had one for the first time this past weekend. And let me tell you, they're crazy.
Okay, cool.
All right. Well, that's the end of our podcast. We'll see you next week, and thanks so much for joining in. Bye, everybody.
Peace.